My name is Daniele Monticelli. I'm a member of the team of a project, and I'm responsible for the establishment of the Digital Cultural Heritage Research Hub. So I'm happy to greet you on behalf of all of us, and very short, it's already here, okay, very good. Just shortly to introduce you to the program of today. We'll have greetings from university people. Then Marek and I will a bit present the DIGHT-Hub, what it is, what are the aims and the planned activity. And the, so to say, academic part will be ended by a roundtable about the digital cultural heritage in transition, and this will be followed by a reception in the Astra building foyer, where you will have also an opportunity to visit small but very nice exhibitions, which combine the material part of Lotman archive with a first attempt to show what can be done once this part has been digitized. Yeah. So, but without further ado, it's my pleasure to call here Katrin Niglas, who is the Vice-Rector of Tallinn University for Research, for a brief address.
Good evening, dear partners, dear colleagues. I'm very glad, always very glad, if our researchers have been successful in launching projects, applying for funding and finding the eager partners to actually work with us, because as a small nation, a small university, we can only be influential as we wish, or even a bit more when we really cooperate and find partners all around the world for all our academic endeavors. And with the cultural focus of our research, it's indeed one of our main missions in Tallinn University. I was just today morning in our government building, as we are also working with the local governments, that this cultural heritage would be actually accessible, that people, also young people who seem to be a lot in digital devices these days, but yes, we need to, it's our responsibility to make it happen, that in these digital worlds also the actually the high value cultural heritage is available, explained and made accessible for the not only for our generations but also the young people, so that this mission with doing a solid research, but also focusing on knowledge transfer, so that our research results would not only stay with other academic colleagues, but reach out to the wider society and enrich us as nations, as societies, is a very important part of our work here these days. Maybe some years ago it wasn't so self-evident, but now it is. And yes, the other meeting I was just coming with negotiating with our Estonian ministry about the funding. And yes, we are not very rich on money, but we achieve a lot because we are rich otherwise. I think, first of all, I'm very glad that we are rich with in Tallinn University with a lot of eager researchers who have understood that money is available outside and we have learned together with partners and so that's the other richness that we have partners all around the world with whom actually to go and present our good ideas and to bring in the money. And the third, and maybe the first, we have in Tallinn University several archives and repositories which, where there is a condensed amount of high-value cultural ideas and heritage, and we definitely don't want it to stay there in the closed bookshelves or so that we want this richness to be out there. So once more, thank you all for being part of this mission. Thank you for coming to Tallinn, and I hope I already know that you have done a lot of work already, but most importantly, I see this launch today is giving a promise that it's not that when this project, winning project, ends, that it's all and we start to do something else, that this DIGHT-Hub, I was thinking if it's DIGHT-Hub or how to I learned that it's there to last and hopefully then a lot of new projects will grow out from this initial initiative and we can all enjoy the results either digitally or by being present in events. Thank you.
Welcome to Tallinn University also on my behalf. We agreed with Daniel, I'm introducing myself. My name is Lember, I'm head of School of Humanities, where the hub is more closely based at. And I'm saying a few words about our school and about maybe at the back of the background that I know of. The School of Humanities is one of the 6 main schools at our university, and in Estonian language it's called Tallinna Ülikooli Humanitaarteaduste Instituut. And this gives room for a wordplay as an abbreviation is spelled of that phrase TUHI or tühi in Estonian, and that means emptiness or void. So we fill this space or void with the study and teaching of a wide range of languages and cultures, from European to Japanese, Chinese, and Arabic. We also work with historical research, with the study of Estonian culture and linguistics. In addition, we also research and study philosophy, cultural theory, translation, anthropology, and urban studies. And now coming a little bit closer, we do a lot of collaboration and work also with digital humanities. For example, in digital technologies, with collaboration with the School of Digital Technologies, we have long provided our students with a minor degree in digital humanities, combining empirical materials and perspectives of humanities with the research methods and opportunities of information technology. So we see ourselves as quite early adopters of the ongoing artificial intelligence turn. And this year, under the guidance of Marek Tamm and Andres Karjus, we launched a new course for all our BA students dedicated to exploring the significance of AI in humanities research, including cultural memory practices. So now, this is there, and we have really done quite a lot, and I think we are at the forefront of the artificial intelligence turn in teaching at university. But also, across all the areas of our study and research, semiotics has a persistent intellectual presence. While not taught, as a separate degree program. It is taught and researched alongside languages, and it is reflected in our research on meaning making across societies, cultures, especially in cultural theory and history, teaching and research. Therefore, it is especially nice to see that the potential of the intellectual encounters between Umberto Eco and Juri Lotman is brought to a next level with the current DIGHT-Net initiative. So the current Horizon Twinning project marks hopefully indeed a true twinning of both Lotman's and Eco's archives, theories, and heritage. And the project capitalizes on a collaboration agreement between Tallinn University and Bologna University that has been already there for a while, and on many years of important work at Juri Lotman's archive, while then hopefully adding a new productive stage for its development. In several ways then, today marks a launch of a new initiative and hub, but the work behind it has been ongoing for quite some time, in my understanding. It builds on earlier collaborations, research traditions, and on 2 years of ongoing work already also in the Horizon Twinning project. I know that DIGHT-Hub aspires to become ideally a permanent hub for research and training, and to impact global cultural heritage study, teaching, and this in Amsterdam, Bologna, Turku, and here in Tallinn, and beyond. I can only promise that at the School of Humanities, DIGHT-Hub is much welcomed and can feel right at home. And we will work together to ensure it will have a long life, hopefully permanent. Thank you.
So it's also my pleasure to welcome you to this public launch of DIGHT-Hub, and I'm also very grateful for these kind words of the Vice-Rector and Director. So in the next 15 minutes, I'd like to do 3 things. Oh, it's already there. So first, to give a short overview of the DIGHT-Net project, within which the hub is being created. Second, explain why the study and especially the theoretical understanding of digital cultural heritage is so important today. And third, say a few words about the specific conditions we have here at Tallinn University and why we are committed to developing this field here. So, DIGHT-Net is a 3-year Horizon Europe twinning project. Its full title is Sustainable, Usable and Visible Digital Cultural Heritage, Twinning for Excellence. And as been said, the project brings together 4 universities, Tallinn University as the coordinator, the University of Bologna, the University of Amsterdam and the University of Turku. And our common goal is to strengthen research excellence and capacity in digital cultural heritage at Tallinn University and to integrate this work into a strong European network. There are 3 core strands to DIGHT-Net. First, to establish the DIGHT-Hub. We are witnessing today an institutional home for digital cultural heritage at Tallinn University. Second, to develop a twin digital archive focused on the legacies of Juri Lotman and Umberto Eco. The idea is first to digitize Lotman's archive, almost done, then to build a prototype of his digital archive, and finally to make it scalable so that Umberto Eco's digital library and archive can be created in the future, using shared technical architectures and metadata frameworks. And third, to advance a theoretical and methodological framework for digital cultural heritage grounded in semiotics and culture theory. We want to understand not only how to create digital archives and platforms, but what they do to our concepts of heritage, memory, and interpretation. So around these 3 strands, DIGHT-Net also has a strong capacity building component, including training and mobility for early career researchers, joint courses and summer schools, development of open science and data management practices, and skills in project development, leadership, and international collaboration. So we have also a small visual representation of the project structure, having 6 work packages, and in the heart of the project we have Digital Cultural Heritage Research Hub and Lotman Digital Archive and Eco Digital Archives, all feeding into sustainability, research capacity building, and visibility of our network. So let me now turn to the why question. Why do we need a hub and a research network dedicated to digital cultural heritage in the first place? Many scholars talk about our current situation as digital condition, a state in which digital technologies are not just tools we occasionally use, but the very environment in which we think, remember, communicate, and work. One of the most profound consequences of this is a change in our relationship with the past. Our memories, archives, and heritage collections are increasingly created, accessed, and circulated in digital form. Secondly, the materials of the past become part of evolving data flows. They are processed, ranked, searched, recommended, and recombined or remixed. What we can see and what we are gently pushed to forget is increasingly shaped by technical infrastructures and algorithms. In this situation, simply digitizing cultural heritage is not enough. We also need to ask, what does digitization do to the heritage? How does it change the way we remember and forget? How does it affect authority, ownership, accessibility, and the politics of visibility? In other words, digital cultural heritage is not only a technical matter, it is a deeply theoretical and even political issue. Across Europe and in Estonia as well, we have seen important investments in digitization. Memory institutions are scanning, cataloging, and uploading collections at an impressive scale. New data spaces and portals are being created. But there is a noticeable gap between this technical and institutional effort on the one hand and critical theoretical reflection on the other. This is why we emphasize theoretical work. We need concepts, models, and critical vocabularies that match the complexity of our digital condition. And now the third reason to theorize digital cultural heritage has to do with the broader societal and political stakes. On the European level, digital cultural heritage is increasingly understood as a strategic resource. It supports education and critical historical thinking. It underpins creative industries and new forms of cultural production. It contributes to democracy by making diverse histories and voices visible. And it's crucial for smaller languages and cultures like Estonian that seek to be visible and accessible in a global digital space. At the same time, digital heritage can easily reproduce inequalities. Some histories and communities become hyper-visible. Others remain marginal or are excluded entirely. And the choices about what to digitize, how to describe it, and how to make it searchable can reinforce existing power relations. So digital cultural heritage is not neutral. It is shaped by economic, political, and technical decisions. This makes research and critical reflection not a luxury, but a necessity. So DIGHT-Hub wants to be a place where we look at these questions head-on, combining practical work with archives and collections with conceptual and critical analysis. So last question, why Tallinn University? Is Tallinn University a good place for this, and why do we want to invest in digital cultural heritage here? First, I'd say that we already have strong building blocks in place. The School of Humanities, but also the Baltic Film, Media and Art School offer programs where cultural theory, memory studies, history, semiotics, media studies, and digital culture intersect. This gives us a rich intellectual context in which to situate digital cultural heritage studies. We also, as was said, host important collections and infrastructures, such as the Juri Lotman archives, and also the digitization capacities of the Tallinn University Academic Library. These give us very concrete material to work with when building digital archives and experimenting with new forms of access. And as a university, we already have experience in coordinating large international projects, including previous Horizon Europe twinning initiatives and other capacity building grants. In other words, we're not starting from zero, but we are building on a set of existing strengths. But secondly, Tallinn University occupies a specific position as a kind of bridge. Through the DIGHT-Net project, we are connected to partners in Western and Northern Europe with strong traditions in archival studies, digital humanities, media and memory studies, semiotics, and heritage research. This gives us the opportunity to create a laboratory where different scholarly traditions, languages, and memory cultures come into dialogue, and where we can experiment with new ways of connecting and presenting them in digital form. And finally, why are we, as a community of scholars, students, and professionals, motivated to work on digital cultural heritage? Let me highlight 3 reasons. First, as said, we are the custodians of significant archives and collections, from Lotman's papers to various Estonian and Baltic German cultural materials. We have a responsibility to think carefully about how to preserve, digitize, and open these collections in ways that are ethically and intellectually responsible. Secondly, our students want to work at the intersection of archives, museums, data infrastructures, and digital culture. The DIGHT-Hub will hopefully provide an environment where they can combine theoretical understanding with practical skills, and where they can learn to navigate both the technical and the critical dimensions of digital heritage. And finally, digital archives are not only for students and researchers. They can inspire artists, feed into school curricula, support community projects, and citizen history initiatives. The DIGHT-Hub aims to work with users and not only for them. So, to sum up, DIGHT-Net as a project gives us the framework and the partners, and DIGHT-Hub provides the institutional home. And our work on digital cultural heritage gives us the concepts and tools to understand how our relationship to the past are changing in the digital age. So today's launch marks the starting point of this new phase. What comes next will depend on the collaborations we build here within Tallinn University, with our international partners, and with many communities who care about how the past lives on in a digital form. So thank you very much for your attention.
Okay. Yeah, I will get to the... Shall I move it? Next, back. It's stuck. Sorry? Kuhu ma pean seda sihtima? Okay, but yeah, I mean, okay. I think, yeah, we can start and proceed. And actually proceed because, yeah, the slide is there. Because it's an interesting, actually intellectually interesting experience, because on the one hand, we have this, so to say, institutional moment that we are launching today. But on the other hand, this institutional moment is a result of a process. And actually, we don't see so much difference between what will be the institution and what has been the project. So that the idea is to make, so to say, permanent what we have done so far. And of course, to widen it. So you will see some images of a possible DIGHT-Hub logo. It's not something that we have discussed, or you don't take it seriously. Just I played a bit with AI, so that. But it's interesting. Actually, we have also have a reflection among ourselves. What is an hub? Is it a platform? Is it a network? Is it I don't know, a rhizome even, or whatever? But about the DIGHT-Hub, so to give a tentative definition, what we imagine it as. So the DIGHT-Hub is an initiative which is international, interdisciplinary, which is a platform which connects researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and citizens working in the field of digital cultural heritage. As I was saying, that's something that we are already doing in the project, but so the idea that it's to increase the number of connections at a certain point. Yeah? So what is the aim of DIGHT-Hub is to advance research and innovation in preserving and understanding the cultural heritage via digital technology. And for us, as we heard already from actually Katrin and Uku and Marek, it is an important strategic development, which pretty much relate with priorities in the development plan of Tallinn University. So the core objectives of the project, here it's a bit cut, the slides, but it's no problem. Basically, to develop this network, to create this node of a network which should coordinate the activities, connecting partners via shared events and research and funding. It will be a project incubator, so acting as an initiative for new joint research proposals and international cooperations. It will work with the aim of integrating research into education, into teaching, so developing new courses and other tools for education. And of course also resource development. So we will start from this, from the digitization of a Lotman archive, from this prototype of the twin Lotman and Deco archive, but the idea is also to provide open access guidelines on digitization, data management, responsible uses of AI, which will be based on our research. Well, we have a few knowledge sharing activities that we have already started to practice within the project. The doctoral schools, we started this year, which has been a very successful doctoral schools with a lot of interest from, I would say, all over the world. We will continue with that. We will continue to organize thematic workshops and conferences, and also monthly seminars. An important aspect of the activity of the hub will be the public outreach. Yeah? Now we have been focused pretty much on research and but still we have already organized workshops with practitioners and representatives of different institutions, and this will be more and more in the future. So well, the key issue is the sustainability, and here we put this, Yuri Lotman is watching us, so what are you going to do with, with my stuff, and how long, basically. So yeah, we have used this word permanent, Suku was saying that let's hope it will be permanent, but yes, we imagine it like this, but on the same time we would have to permanent the word light and flexible, so we don't have, it won't differ so in any remarkable way from the presence on network, in the sense we won't have a hard, so kind of institutional organization with a lot of workers and so on and so forth. But this will be based, of course, on a strong partnership with Juri Lotman's semiotics repository. It's ongoing knowledge transfer to students and researchers, and also continuous dialogue with international peers, and expanded post-project collaborations, so that here is a bit of 3 pillars of sustainability. One, first is the engagement, to build a community of students, researchers, and also cultural institutions to contribute and advocate for the hub. A funding mix of grants, university support, but also services that could be offered to the community in order to ensure long-term viability of a hub. And of course, we will work a lot on visibility, so how to communicate impact through successful stories, publications, and so on and so forth. So to sum up, the DIGHT-Hub is intended as a pioneering research hub in digital cultural heritage at Tallinn University. It will focus on collaboration, education, and innovation, and will be committed to open, sustainable, and interdisciplinary knowledge exchange. And looking ahead, by embedding the hub in Tallinn University's academic fabric, we want to foster strong national and also international ties, and we want to become an important partner in research and innovation activities in the field of digital cultural heritage in Europe, but maybe not only in Europe. So this is my part, and we will immediately continue with our roundtable. So you will have, sorry for we don't have coffee breaks or things like that, but it's not that the time is not so long, so that we will have in approximately 1 hour and a half a reception. So I will invite Merit Maran. Merit is the director of Lotman repositories at Tallinn University. She is coordinating the digitization of all the material, and they also work on how to use and present this material. So, and Merit will herself introduce the member of the panel.
Thank you, Daniele, but actually I would invite all the roundtable participants maybe already to come down here and take a seat, and then I will also introduce you more properly, but then we can kind of get it all out of the way. So, yeah, sit here. Yeah, and just a small comment that when you speak, try to keep the mics close, right? Because then the YouTube viewers will also see us. Okay, but good afternoon on my part as well. It is a pleasure to continue today's launch of the DIGHT-Hub with this roundtable titled Digital Cultural Heritage in Transition. And together with my colleagues here, we will try to map some of the challenges, opportunities, and perspectives that lie ahead of the field of digital cultural heritage. And as our time is quite limited, and we have 6 wonderful guests today with us, I have decided to focus on 2 themes or 2 topics that hopefully will still allow us to cover quite a wide range of aspects. One topic is connected to the question, how do we make digital cultural heritage not just accessible, but also meaningful or relevant for the users? And the other theme or topic will be connected to the impact of the emergent AI technologies, which whether we greet them with enthusiasm or with caution, I think inevitably are already impacting the field of heritage significantly. And this is a topic that we shouldn't and can't avoid when talking about the future of digital cultural heritage at the moment. And we will also have a shorter third round for our speakers, where we will let all the participants themselves pick some issues or topics that they seem as very relevant for the future of digital cultural heritage. And before we will move on to our discussion, I will also use the opportunity to invite our participants or introduce our participants in a bit more detail. So I will start from here. Eva Näripea, she's the Director of Film Archives of Estonian National Archives. Next we have Pille Runnel. She's the Research Director and Deputy Director of the Estonian National Museum. Then Hannu Salmi, who is a Professor of Cultural History at the University of Turku. Next we have Indrek Ibrus, who is a Professor of Media Innovation at Tallinn University. Then next to him is Francesco Mazzucchelli, who is a Professor of Semiotics at the University of Bologna. And finally we have Ihab Salul, who is the Professor of Memory Studies and Narrative at the University of Amsterdam. So first of all, thank you all for agreeing to participate here. I will now try to lower the table a bit so I can be actually on eye level with all of you. Okay, that is better. So, with this excellent group of perspectives around the table, I think we can jump right into our first topic. So we have now more digital cultural heritage than ever before, and the volumes continue to grow. But this abundance also brings a very basic challenge for us, namely how do we make all this material relevant and not just available. So I would like to hear from you what in your experience helps digital collections become something people can truly connect to or connect with, and also maybe is this even something that people working with digital collections should be responsible for making relevant or making meaningful? So let's start with Eva, your perspective.
Thank you. And first of all, thank you for the very kind invitation to be part of this very esteemed panel of experts. I am not an expert of anything, and that is something that I kind of learn every day. But here are, when you extended me the invitation, there were a couple of things that I thought. First of all, the notion of digital heritage, maybe it's a little bit too wide, in a sense that we need to keep in mind that the cultural heritage is actually a set of discrete elements or even artifacts with their very particular characteristics, and I think that part of what to answer the question what makes them relevant has to keep in mind that specificity of different objects, and I mean, cultural heritage is, after all, something that is both multimedial and multimodal. And secondly, I would say that being inspired by Robert Tamm, who has written a lot on film theory, including a history of film theory, for all these years, something that he has written has kind of stuck with me, that when we talk about approaches, the more approaches we have to a single question, for example, or a single object, the more we can take away from it, let's put it that way. So different stakeholders and different audiences have different objectives when they come to, when they meet cultural heritage, let's put it that way. And first of all, we need to be aware of those, but then again, it's always better to have more perspectives, because each perspective kind of opens up something that another one maybe can't. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Eva. Pille, what is your perspective?
Mm-hmm. Thank you also very much for inviting. Firstly, I was for the first time in your HARP seminar back in the summer, and I kind of breathed more freely after going back to Tartu, my home, because we are a very small 2-person team with helpers working in exactly the same field, but much more kind of in between this public expectations and then trying to do research, but the research is always converted into practical questions. So you're saying that everything this has to be intertwined with theory is so important. So very quickly we have kind of pre-agreed how many minutes we have to keep it quick. So I literally wanted to talk about both topics. But now, firstly, I agree very much with you said, and secondly, I'm so happy that I decided to take an opposite perspective in a way for a very small use case. So if I'm speaking about it, I decided that instead of explaining how we have been carrying out research, we have a project, Digital Heritage as a Societal Research, and we're kind of playing with cultural economy, kind of looking at digital heritage in different fields. But the use case comes from one of our research interventions, a museum innovation lab, where we work with a couple of museums. And about a week ago, I asked Mihkel Solvak from Uni Tartu to come and talk to the museum people about something which is mainstream topic almost in public management, which is a personal state. So is it the concept personal state, right, in English, personaalne riik in Estonian. So there is an opportunity in combining things which exist. And I think that one use case we, from the academy side, should start working with, it's not a message to ministers, is to combine 2 existing things. It is the current state of digital heritage infrastructures in Estonia and digital heritage in Estonia. And secondly, this idea which is both criticized but also operationalized or implemented already, which is a personal state with all these visions about how state should adjust ourselves to the life cycle of persons, and both hopeful and critical voices say that that the state becomes visible behind it, that maybe the citizens become passive. But I think that we have already reached that with digital heritage in terms that all policies identify educational sector and academia as users, but then there are the others. The others are a visible bubble, like the void in your university, and no one, they say that, oh, there are also some other users. I'm interested in them. So why not try to kind of move? I think the current digital heritage infrastructures are kind of the first layer of digital services, and personal state comes beyond that. It is the human-centric, it is proactive, and it is based on needs. So why not take a kind of cluster of heritage which is less sensitive? This is a minefield, I know, but to test how would we, and if not really making this use case a practical one, then I think that we would largely kind of gain from at least thinking in terms of digital heritage as personal, and not through the algorithmic, this kind of platform culture, but personal state also wants to kind of little bit emerge through applying AI and a little bit go further away from platforms, but more towards integration. I think if we had 2 hours, then Professor Ibrus would help me here largely. But so I'm throwing it out today because we have really opportunities to just offer snippets to you here in this round table. And what are the kind of needs? I'm not talking about criticism, but I thought that maybe, and it is a kind of use case because we have to also theoretical and conceptual approach it. I think that maybe it would enable to talk also about topics which are already inside this digital heritage and humanities should address. So personal state addresses individuals, but I think that a lot of heritage is very sensitive because it's linked to, it doesn't belong to individual, it belongs to communities. And their rights and they as kind of heritage communities, they are not addressed in our current building of MUIs, or or building archives and so on. So current services have not addressed that. So maybe this digital personal, digital heritage 2.0, maybe we will reach that. So I think it's 6 or 7 minutes, so I will gladly listen to the next speakers. But so if you are in, let's talk about it after our round table.
Definitely, we will have a chance after that, but now I will give then word to Francesco.
Okay, trying to answering to the general question you're posing, how do we make meaningful digital archives? I was thinking about maybe starting with a provocation that if we pose one question like this, maybe we are not speaking we are no longer speaking about archives in the traditional sense of the term, not in this sense at least. This means that the very notion of archive is shifting to something else, to new cultural forms, to different languages. That's exactly what we are investigating through this project. Okay, we said many times that digitization is not just about the transformation of the document itself, a transformation from one medium to another, the dematerialization of a physical object. It's not about that. It's not an operation that alters the material structure of the support, but that transforms the semiotic structure of the document and the relation between documents, text, traces, and so on. So the document digitized becomes something else. The intertext it creates are something new. And of course, within certain limits, a digital document can still function as a traditional document. It can still be consulted, preserved, classified, studied, and so on. But at the same time, it enables many other things. That's exactly what we are discussing today. Means digitization is not just a process of transformation, but we are in the homeland of Lotmat, but of translation, of course. So this means, and I'm going to the central point of what I'd like to say about this question you're posing, that what changes is not just let's say, the platform, the infrastructure. What changes is the language through which we conserve and preserve the past, and through which we generate discourse about the past and the intelligibility of memory. And what changes is not the archive, but what can be archived. You said this at the beginning, no? What can be archived? Literally anything can be archived. We are producing records of everything. There is this Italian philosopher, Maurizio Ferraris, who is talking about the era of documentality. No? We record everything while we are doing that. And this change the form of the archive, of course, because it's not the archive in itself that's changing, but the archivable, what can be archived. So we know from Foucault that the archive is the law of what can be said. Exactly this system, this condition of enunciability of the past is changing. The way in which the past can be narrated, made meaningful, and so on. And it means that somehow maybe we are using, because it's more comfortable to us not to use the same word, archive, but we are watching this transformation, this creation of a new mass medium, because the digital archive is becoming a mass medium somehow. No? We are talking of archives, of narrative agents, of this generation of a new language, of a new medium. It's what completely changed the condition of possibility of a new kind of discourse that wasn't present before. And what you in the text you sent to us to orientate our answers, you were talking about this tension of the gamification, aestheticization of the past. That's actually what's happening. Digital archives are not anymore about preservation and transmission and building a platform to preserve documents, but about building generating new portions of the same sphere. And that's what I wanted to say about this.
Okay, thank you. But in all these transformations taking place currently, there is another one that has emerged quite explosively, and it's the transformation that AI technologies are bringing to the archive, and the way we not only interpret but also produce archival materials and process archival materials. So I would now turn maybe our question towards exactly this, the AI topic, and ask that in your view, which changes that this AI turn has brought about, which changes do you see as most significant for the field of digital cultural heritage particularly? And maybe we can start with Hannu.
Okay, thank you so much, and congratulations for Tallinn University for launching the hub. I think it's important to mention. Okay. There's so many things that could be said. I mean, first of all, we are now in the middle of a wave of different AI applications, and I think it's also important to remind that AI has a longer tradition. So we have already for decades had an AI among us, in a sense that there's research on how machines can undertake tasks that human intelligence has otherwise done. They can include machine learning issues or neural network issues, but today, of course, AI applications have really had a certain upheaval, and they are unavoidably here. But there's a longer tradition of drawing on artificial intelligence, and I think many of those elements are already there in digital cultural heritage collections, and that's also, I think, good to remember. But I see many kinds of possibilities that we could still develop to be able to meaningfully draw on recent findings and recent developments. First of all, in preservation and restoration, I think AI could be used for optimizing energy consumption. That might be one way of influencing the conditions where we are. We might stream our pipelines, how we work with data sets, with AI tools. We might repair broken metadata. We know that metadata is often generated by generations. There are different categories. We might harmonize those data sets to make searches more convenient and more effective for the user. And also understanding the whole. I mean, what have the archives actually digested, and to understand where are the holes, for example, in a film production or in a letter collection and so on. So I find many possibilities. And of course, for researchers, there are very good examples of how to draw on AI in conducting tasks that have usually been done by humans, in categorizing, for example, archival collections. It makes it easier. I can make it easier. It can make it also messy. That's another side. I see also many benefits, for example, in the Lotman collection, where if we try to apply handwritten text recognition, there will certainly be a lot of errors, but when it's developed further through a large language model based on AI, we can probably fill those gaps that there are. And there are good examples of using AI. And that's actually the use of large language models in its best way, in a way, to repair broken language. So I see many kinds of possibilities, but there are also dangers, so we have to be critical of how we use it and which kinds of tools do we use. And if an AI-enhanced digital collection would bring a new layer, it should be, of course, necessary to be able to identify what that layer is and always go back into the material object and its proportions. But all in all, I would like to be positive and see all the benefits, but always conscious of the pitfalls that there might be. Was that 5 minutes, I guess?
Thank you. Indrek?
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation, and I also have a kind of critics to offer, because from the older brother to the younger, because within Tallinn University we have had in a different institute, Baltic Film, Media and Art School, a digital cultural heritage research group for a while now. So welcome. And as we are discussing semiotics and Lotman's heritage today, the only kind of introduction here is that any phenomenon, any discourse is stronger when there is more pillars overlapping, strengthening each other. So in that sense, plurality and heterogeneity is only good within any institutions and beyond. But you asked the question why, what to do with the AI in the context of digital heritage research, or maybe just using heritage. I mean, Anu was already covering a lot of it in a sense that there is preservation, there is analysis, there is access, and I think all these things are very important. I mean, access, especially if you talk about dialogue, people approaching, doing new things, making meaning, then this is highly important. But this is beyond what I normally do. I do research, and when it comes to, I would like to connect this question to the question you also asked first about the role of archives and what kind of archives, etc. Then I'm actually teaching Marek here. Marek Tamm is curating a BA level course about digital humanities, and my job there is to lecture to the students about how to research digital cultural heritage. And what I end up always doing there is basically mostly talking about the importance of metadata, because it is via the metadata that we can access the heritage. And how it then depends on the quality of the metadata, what we can access, what we can do with, etc., etc. But at the same time, I also tend to highlight there that something is changing, that instead of those structurally fixed database types, relational databases, we are moving to the new kind of more flexible era of linked data, and the value there is that you can keep on recontextualizing everything. So add new meanings. There's a flexibility there. And that's all good. And also in my own research practice, and of course we are not alone in the world when it comes to this, using increasingly AI different means to create these new metadata, to look, increasingly we have this quick and effective ability to look into the text and find things there that may be relevant for characterizing these texts and linking these to others, etc., etc. And so personally, I'm busy with that day in, day out. Almost every day there's a meeting of how to do it, etc. And again, as we are discussing semiotics also today, then what we have in this case is the modeling function. Yeah? Constantly trying to create new models, explain what's in the text, how they're connecting to each other, what new wholes, entities, subsystems, etc. emerge. And in some sense, what comes with this function of using AI for research is this avalanche of new models. Yeah? New models, we can do everything. We can analyze this and that, and so many things possibly. Yeah. I was having a meeting earlier today, this morning, so let's analyze narratives. But what are narratives? And then you can all analyze so many different things, and what should we choose then? And we have 7 million texts we're looking at, so it's pretty significant what we're doing. And then I think what comes in this situation is realization that how the importance of how we frame the question, what matters, why, etc. And with this, we are back to what humanities do. Really understanding why do we need to know certain things. And what also happens is that we are currently in an era of where we are approaching these LLMs mostly as basically dark black boxes. Yeah, we're poking them with sticks and see what happens. So if we write these prompts, what comes? Okay. So, I don't know, this prompt, we need to probably phrase this a little bit differently. And okay, now this prompt is nice, but if you put this to work on 7 million texts, it's going to cost us 100,000 or more euros. So we need to use a different model and try to do it more cheaply. And so we keep on poking and adapting, etc., etc. And this is all good, but I think what really is matter, what this brings to realization is not only the phase where we to be really critical, understand why we're asking certain and how much it may depend on the nature of how a particular machine is working, but also the realization that this cannot continue like this. This is not okay. Yeah, so it's not okay that we just poke the machine and see what happens, but we need to make these machines a lot more transparent. We need to get control over them, and this is the political economy dimension here that in Tallinn University we're having these conversations that we need to build up our own high-performance computational parks because we need to run our own models because then we are in better control over things. So we are in this, right now we are in a strange phase where opportunities, there's so many opportunities, you can do so many things possibly, but of course you cannot do so many things. As humans we also have limited hours and limited attention scapes and so on. So we need to kind of domesticate these machines in every sense. These are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Indrek. Ihab, your 2 cents.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Tallinn University and also congratulate Tallinn University on the launch of this important initiative. I think this will help also to develop the whole field of digital cultural heritage, not just scientifically, but also in relation to the practice of digital heritage. Especially in Estonia, as Marek said, this is certainly an important milestone in European field of digital heritage studies. My 2 cents on AI is that first of all, I would like to be a bit critical about it. So I'm not very positive, as Hanu said. I would like to address actually a few things from a humanities theoretical perspective. I'm not a technician, but I think about it from a conceptual theoretical frame. It would be nice to have an AI of me sitting here and telling you what I think, but I don't know how that works. Anyway, I think the whole problem is the relationship to the past. I see that actually as the major problem in all kind of projects dealing with digitization. I think there's also a kind, due to what Eva said, the wide concept of digital heritage also generates a lot of kind of tensions around not just the method of what we do, but also what is the product of what we pass to other generations, or how we deal actually with this whole knowledge. So I think maybe just few flags of warnings. Maybe we shouldn't only think about the digitization of heritage per se, but also think about the heritage of digitization at the same time. This whole idea of taking digitization for granted certainly needs to be a question. The second thing is maybe to think about a small warning, what Indrek said. I would say don't lose sight of humanities, because we are not, we are a specific science, let's say, as humanities, so don't lose sight of the humanities approach. In other words, don't sell your soul to the devil, in the sense of think about hermeneutics, think about philosophy, think about the concept or expanding the concept itself. These are actually the core businesses we do. It's not just producing the machine or following the machine or filling up the machine. It's also about the knowledge production, the epistemology of the creation of knowledge. That's very important. Especially in relation to what Francesco, for example, mentioned, the whole idea of the what. What do we archive? Actually, what he means by this is this whole idea of selectivity of knowledge that we bring into our projects. Like we select certain knowledges and we say, okay, this is the history and this is the experience, etc. And that influences a lot of questions around the agency of the people, or also think about the generational shift. Like our societies, for example, in Europe are per se aging societies, but we have actually a generational shift, like most of the young people who actually are users and consumers of digital frameworks. But what do you do with the other categories of societies? For me, that's an important question. To think about aging societies and what do we do actually with these kind of old generations who miss the boat. Some people actually still can't use emails, yeah? So this is important to understand. And also in relation to the whole generational shift, is that basically, yeah, what do you know about history? If you don't, like the whole production of epistemology, if your whole source of knowledge is Google, which is 25 years or less, I think 25 years, September 4th, 1998 or something. So if you're older than 25-year-old, you're older than Google, yeah? Which is where all our sources of knowledge come from, you know, like how easy it is. So you can see like this whole you put it in balance, like what do I know and how do I express my knowledge and how do I use the machine to express my knowledge of what I know? These are important questions. So I think it's important when we think about AI is also to think about this whole idea of the politics and the ethics of digitization. This is key central elements, especially of what's happening if you want to relate this to the applications, the AI applications, or the military and defense applications of AI. This is something that we shouldn't forget or lose sight in terms of surveillance, in terms of privacy, in terms of facial recognition, all these kind of military applications of AI. So I think for me, these are kind of problems. What the Dean said, for example, about the money, I know we are poor in the humanities and we're under pressure, but actually there's now a new trend, like the defense ministries, for example, all over Europe, they have a lot of money, have received a lot of money for research in these kind of areas, and now we are actually forced as humanities, philosophers, etc., to work with defense, regardless of, sometimes regardless of our ethical missions. So I think really we should think about the relevance and the value of actually engaging with this kind of knowledge and what these people, because you can produce a critical theory of something, like we know how Foucault, Derrida, Heidegger, etc., Habermas, all these critical theories, and they can be translated into the most violent and the most killing machines existing. We saw that in Ukraine, we saw that in Gaza, we saw that in so many other conflicts in the world. So I think, for me, let's not take digitization per se as a kind of a finished concept that let's keep questioning the practice itself. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. I think all in all, we received a pretty balanced positions of our attitude towards AI. And it also seems clear that currently we're in a position where the technology and society around it are changing with such a pace that it's very difficult to predict where these transformations will be in a couple of years. But I would still ask you all for this final round to try to make some predictions, what you see as maybe the most significant challenges that face digital cultural heritage field in the upcoming years, and maybe if you already have some ideas how the DIGHT-Hub that we are launching today can help to address them, then you're also welcome to share these thoughts as well. So let's start with Eva.
Again. I would say that I was very glad to see the word permanent on one of the slides, because digital is very ephemeral. And this is coming from a practitioner. Make sure to back up your stuff several times over, and be prepared to lose it anyway. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add, actually.
That's a very good and profound advice, I think. So thank you. Pille.
Yeah, that was a perfect one-sentence message. I'm lost in what to pick up with as a very short thing, because I still have some notes. Firstly, it is obvious that there is fragmentation now in this digital heritage field, because universities and our sector and museums and archives and tech partners, they still actually operate quite separately. Because of the speed, because of the silos which have been developed carefully for years and so on. But now, also in public debate, you hear this ecosystem word even too much, like every sentence contains it. But we are not an ecosystem, so how to become one and what defines it? Secondly, this permanence you already addressed, so I hope that any hub will kind of make addressing sustainability kind of more simple. I'm absolutely sure of it. And then the third challenge at large is that there is sometimes not enough tight link with societal needs. But here is, of course, where the devil also lives, because I'm speaking now as a practitioner, as you can hear. Because when we're talking about these public values, then I was in a EKIP workshop. EPIC is Innovation Platform for Creative Industries, a project, and Tallinn partner was responsible for cultural heritage in innovation ecosystems. The words they operate with at large is, EKIP described itself as a collaborative platform designed to boost the development of innovation capacity in ecosystems, to include the cultural and creative industries. Here the vocabulary, in these kinds of collaborations, I think also your institution's vocabulary is kind of missing, but definitely humanities. So all this usability brings in different vocabulary. The agency shifts. I'm in this project where the agency has shifted. Social relevance becomes something utilitarian relevance. Yet there is a practical need where I invite you to join, not only theory and conceptual, but in Estonia particularly, it is very clear that this system where on the one hand is governments and secondly are our institution, there is a midfield missing. Midfield is this kind of not choosing practical challenges, but having also these conceptual dialogues. And humanities voice has to come in here. There is also a chance, of course, to all kinds of labs with you, all kinds of collaborations, all kinds of use cases, tests, and so on. But this kind of join this level. In Estonia, we are so small lab that we can do it all together. Shortly, I would have 2 pages to talk about it, but please.
Thank you. Hannu?
Yeah, there are many kinds of things. I actually agree with DIGHT-Hub that we have to have clearly in mind those research problems that we have in humanities. I think it's valuable in all of this mess where we are living. So I think it's highly important. But I was actually there are like tensions that have to be solved in the future. I don't predict future, but I think we can make it together. But there are different problems. Also the issue of permanence. There's nothing permanent in the digital world, and it's like a garden that needs watering all the time. And that's one of the issues, that whatever we construct, we have to be able to maintain it 5 years, 10 years. That's already long, because all the software and libraries will be renewed and so on. So it's very difficult but again, because it's so difficult, we need those meaningful questions that keep it together. We have discussed accessibility, and it's also ambiguous in the sense that at the same time we know that when we have something easily accessible, it might make the original material object more difficult to access, and that's happening, for example, in the archival world in Finland at the moment, that actually archives are closing their doors, and museums, and that's something that we have to struggle, and so the digital cultural heritage, it's not alone. I mean, it somehow influences the way we see the non-digital, and how to integrate that meaningfully in the work that we do in the digital realm. I think that's something to consider. And probably one way would be to concentrate on heritage as a process or heritagization. So why to do this, for whom, to have a more kind of a social approach to the work that we do. Probably that might be. And the last point, if this is Lotman-centered, we don't have an ecosystem but a Lotman system, and probably the launch could be, the hub could be Lotman-inspired, that it could actually promote research in everything human, and not only Lotman himself, but other fields of research that inspired him.
Okay, thank you, Hannu. Indrek.
Yeah, I was thinking about this question we have over permanence. Sure, of course, there's no permanence in a digital sphere, but we should strive towards that. What I mean by that is that this is me putting my kind of political economist or infrastructure person hat on, is that yet there are institutions out there that are building, that are there to provide societal or public value exactly by trying to, as I said, confirm certain or secure certain permanence. And this means, especially in the context of current in the European Union, there is a whole bunch of initiatives that are out there securing either availability of data or, let's say, standard space, systematic organization management of data. And of course, European Union in this context also highlighting the valuable, let's say, public institutions such as Wikidata, yeah? So in this sense, any heritage institution as they are building new data sets, new databases would need to think through how are we gonna publish where exactly so that it's available to others. And this is again very simple principle because everybody says that, but let me just highlight this once again. That make sure it's well interlinked, well standardized using systems that can be, so that stuff that you do can be used by others. But I would also again accord here with Anna that in the sense that me too, I'm part of a whole bunch of various kinds of initiatives, AI that, heritage this and whatever, and there's a lot going on. So the question is, what can this one hub in Estonia add to that? But I think exactly we can build on the particular path dependencies heritage here, Lotsman and in Estonia and ECO in Italy, and to make sense of how could heritage be used or remodeled according to the, I don't know, semiosphere logic or the ideas that come from these perspectives, and this way propose an alternative or a different view to conceptualize and organize heritage and to see what comes from that. So heterogeneity is a value, and we have something original contribute to this heterogeneity, and we should, go for that. So.
Thank you. Francesco?
I'm also following this line on permanence. That's the main issue when talking about archives. When Eva was mentioning the problem of documents, digital documents not being permanent, I was thinking about that beautiful novel, do you remember, by Stanislav Lem, I don't know the title in English if it's correct, in Italy, it's Memory Found in a Bathtub. I don't know if it's the same, in which imagine a world in which paper disappears from the world. So all the libraries, all the archives completely, for a chemical reaction, there is no paper at all. So the most dystopic scenario in which every document immediately disappears. And this, to say just, I agree very much with Anu when he says that permanence, there is nothing permanent. Permanence is something that we build up, with this image of a plant that we water, and this idea of permanence is beautiful, really, it's very poetic. And this links to what I was saying before. Every historic era builds up its idea of permanence. We are building an episteme of permanence that's different from what we were thinking before. And so, maybe, I don't know, talking about future scenarios is probably, I didn't say this clearly enough before. I didn't mean to say that archives are changing, so the old archive is not surviving. We have old archives. We have also another new things that is the archive as a mass medium. That's happening. We see that we are studying this since 1 year, and we saw many examples. And in a way, this probably will, since permanence is something that's moving and shifting, probably future scenario will be a scenario in which the fetish for the document will disappear, or maybe there will be a hyper-fetishization of the document. So these are possible trends. But I agree talking about this future scenario that at the end there is nothing permanent, but at the end we never lose anything according to the eco models of encyclopedia. We always somewhere, even if when material documents disappear, somewhere in the encyclopedia, somewhere is, we don't know if that's there, but still we preserve everything. So this is an optimistic note.
Thank you. DIGHT-Hub.
We're talking about the future, right?
After the past, the future.
Okay, first of all, the permanence issue is very difficult philosophical notion. So I think this is like young forever, you know, the limitation of these kind of ideas, or living forever, or more immortality, etc. No, that's a worst case. But anyway, the whole idea of immortality, I think I agree with Indruk here, is that we are humans and we have a limited capacity. So actually that's an important thing, thought to keep in mind, that actually the technology, there is no technology can be forever. There is nothing called permanent technology. The book industry, the printing industry, when the rise of the novel came, for example, we thought that the printing form was also a kind forever. You see what I mean? And now we are moving into different trends. So I believe in the dynamic form of the technology together with the limitation of the human being. So this is also the human condition, I mean, yeah? So that's also important to understand. But for me, the main challenges in the field, and maybe why this kind of hub can do a better job if it combines the humanities and the scientific and the technological at the same time. For me, maybe just to the major challenges is that we should be careful of assuming that digitization, the whole notion of digitization as preservation. So the whole positivistic notion of digitization, avoid that, but also bring in critical perspectives, paying attention to tensions. This is very important to keep the tension alive and to keep the questioning. The second challenge, for example, and why this hub can be meaningful also in a different way, combining these multiple perspectives, is the aestheticization and the entertainment idea of heritage. And I think, okay, how do you develop meaningful meaning? Because actually meaningless meaning is also a meaning. So actually what you need, everybody can produce meaning, but what we need is meaningful meaning. So I think that's also, for me, the intellectual philosophical challenge about the whole, it's not just a theoretical thinking, but it's also like a logic, you know? So I think this is also important to keep in mind. And the third challenge is the whole idea of the vulnerability of knowledge production in the technological age. So think about now, AI books, for example, AI essays, and also for me as professor or as a university, I don't even have the tools to verify who wrote what and what is intelligible science, what is variable science or vulnerable science or meaningful science. So for example, checking the validity of the students' essays now is a huge problem. For me, as a professor, I'm being asked actually to go back to basics, to have like a Q&A oral examination, you know, one-on-one, instead of written examination, because the whole writing is not valid anymore. You can imagine how this is complicating our lives. You see, it's making the lives of the students easy to cheat, maybe, and to pass, but we don't have the knowledge. So this is really important. And think finally, I want to say something on the whole idea of the social and political economy. I think for a country like Estonia, I know you're a small country. In the Netherlands, we are also a small country, 18 million, but we're still small. But also, I think there is a whole idea of globalization and thinking about the whole condition, the technological condition as a global condition, which is actually not purely accurate here, because actually the access to the internet, for example, globally is very minimal. Like there's a country, for example, like Egypt, with 120 million people, hardly have any access or permanent access to internet. So you can imagine, like you can think from a European and US and Western standard about technology, But is this realistic? Maybe you can keep it in a context. If you say, okay, this is for Estonia, maybe it's valid, but I don't believe generalizing the technological condition everywhere in the world. Most of Africa don't have internet nor electricity. So I think this is also important in terms of the social economy of technology and the whole political economy, in terms of class, in terms of equality. And we should take these kind of conditions into problem. It's not that we are technological, it means everybody is. Sorry, but it doesn't mean it's a bad future, but it means we have a lot of challenges, future challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. I would actually now like to open up the floor to take also some questions from the audience, if we have. And I ask you, if you want to ask, then I will hand out microphones, because we have also a YouTube stream. So. Can we turn them on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So do we have questions from the audience? If not immediately, then maybe I will start also just by commenting Ihap's last ideas. I think also like this, making a really clear-cut distinction between what is created by AI and what is created by a human being nowadays in this digital context or digital environment maybe even doesn't make so much sense. It's a very, it seems to growing into a very dialogic meaning making between the platform, the AI, the human. And so, although I understand the very problematic side of this from the perspective of the teacher or the educator as well, then there's also, I still think, a big promise to this dialogic kind of nature of this communication. Or I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, it's on. It gives red, but it's on anyway. No, I agree. It's not about, it is it's a dialogue. The whole process should be a dialogue. And I wasn't trying to create a binary between the machine and the human, I think we passed this formula, and we know already the shortcomings of this whole theory, the age of the machine and the age of the human. I think what I was referring to is actually something that has to do with the knowledge itself. Like if I say I know something, and then how do you verify this know and the something at the same time? So I think it goes back into what do you choose to archive? What do you what kind of data you actually want to take on board? So I think it's a kind of being careful about taking things absolute or taking things for granted, that this is the knowledge and that's it. And I think for education and teaching and learning, these kind of things, although they seem a hype and they seem very productive and shortening our times, etc., but they also create a lot of issues. So I was just referring to some of the issues or the problems that we actually, we can't deal with at the moment, and maybe we need to think about finding solutions for them.
Okay, thank you. So do we have, yes?
Right. I have a somewhat, I guess, maybe a depressing question. But with a lot of this AI, large language models, the research is being driven by private companies. These are Silicon Valley startups, like OpenAI was started by Elon Musk, and then he found Sam Altman as the partner. for that. And then they pay sort of top researchers in large language models much more than universities can pay, even places like MIT or Caltech or so. And then as universities, we are kind of playing catch up, that they've inbuilt this randomness, what Indrek was mentioning, that you put something in ChatGPT, it's a black box, it doesn't give you the same answer every time. And then we kind of need to study, oh, why does it do that, even though it's a human created system. And yeah, I agree, it's kind of not a nice situation to find yourself when you're in academia. But my question is kind of related. How would you see private corporations and private interests affecting digital archiving or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very justified question. And I see, obviously, all the problems that you addressed are there. And in some sense, what we should start archiving, making sure that we have archived, are the prompts and what came out, and not to mention the models themselves, because to understand what if there's a contemporary societal condition, then, you know, in 20 years' time, 100 years' time, we need to understand why did we have a certain culture, and we need to take into account those privately produced, generated models as well, put these into the mix. But having said that, I think the agenda is clear. We need to move away from this situation, and the what is good is I hear from here and there, you know, Swiss government and the Finnish government, as I understand, all are moving towards certain kind of transparent public service large language models or multimodal models, etc. And I think that's the right path. Of course, it kind of means a lot of public resources need to be invested, maybe in a very regular basis, but there's no other way. If we want to be fully, as societies, if we want to be fully in full control over our own societies and culture and how we use our machines, etc. So, yeah.
I guess there are also signs of change in the sense that was it this year that there was actually first peer-reviewed language model in Nature. So I think that's one step that all language models would be peer-reviewed in the future, so that we know the challenges that there are and so on. But that's a small step towards that direction.
Maybe I will have a small addition, because I'm kind of very much a student here, but I realized after attending training of AI law last week in Caltech, which was for scientists and advanced science. So I went home understanding that in my sector, particularly in museums where I meet people with digital heritage, that not only in law, but this how we get from data to the model, it is 4 clear steps from design to training to validation to deployment. But our discussions usually are only about deployment, this let's call it the last phase, how we get something out, and there is kind of no knowledge or no understanding in kind of among regular museum professionals, let's say, about what comes before. So this kind of digital upskilling to even have this dialogue, and not academic only, is critically important. Actually, my large part of my work in this digital heritage project is understanding what do the institutions think in terms of employers, and this understanding that we literally kind of, let's use this iceberg model, most of it we just ignore and then ask the questions you ask, but only at that phase. That this is one of the huge challenges for me. So, but I realized also that, okay, AI law is one part of it, so we really have no skills also across this whole here, I think. But we need to be in this dialogue.
Thank you. So inspired by the last question, and so the fact that I'm so using these GPTs or large models myself to also analyze the cultural heritage data sometimes as well. Also, like, you know, where does the cultural heritage data start from, and then everything becomes a cultural heritage, right, or is in a way. But the question about it also related to the privatization in a way that so whenever I would run these models to ask a question, to study something at a scale, right? So we have lots of text, lots of images or something, then especially as I'm doing it in, I would say actually on a basic level, I don't have mathematics background or statistics or things like that really strong. So I cannot build, train myself such really good model or think of sort of really good pipeline. I would rather go the easy and pretty much state-of-the-art way that, you know, I would use these big GPTs and these models. And so it seems that in academy, maybe even more so, that if you don't have enough computer scientists collaborating with humanities, then you would really rely on these ready-made given models. And because it's something, it's hosted, you don't need your big computer to do it, etc. But of course, what it means that we are becoming more dependent on these models, but at the same time, it gives us this freedom to do this new sorts of research on scale, which is quite beautiful. And also that sort of demands of what your skills in this computational analysis need to be. Technical skills are actually, you know, it's becoming less and less because much is done online for us in a way. But yeah, the question is exactly that where is the sort of the optimality in there? That so if we pay for these companies and we use their services, but in return we get this great new perspectives of our cultural heritage data. So what is actually where is the optimality in there? That on one side we might become really dependent on these companies. The more we popularize these methods, the more academic funding would actually go there. But on the other side, then we would just have to maybe not use these methods or so on. So I can clarify more, but basically the question is that how would you approach this problem, and where is the optimality in there?
Where's the optimal line? As a researcher, I noticed that it's always very difficult to use methods that I cannot explain to others. I mean, if I don't know how the machinery works, it's very difficult. So there is a kind of, for me, an optimal level might be rather low. I have to be able to explain how I have done the research. But that's true. We are in a situation that I don't know how it really is, but ChatGPT gives an API possibility, but then there are more closed systems, and then there are open models where the results are not so good. I might go to the open ones, although the results are not so refined, but we are in a certain controversial situation. But anyway, it's very difficult. I would like to put the optimal line into that we use what we can explain. I don't have any. Do you have any other answer?
Yeah, I think in this context, it depends how much money you have. So if you have your own server park, or you can rent one, or run your own models, or be more in more control over them. But I think even in the case of when you don't have a lot of money and you run those commercial models, etc., then you can develop an approach, a method. You know, how do you assess its quality, its reactions, etc. So in a couple of projects that you are partly also involved in, we do our own test sets, and we see how human annotators would work, and then, you know, compare this to when we do text classification, and then and then we compare different models, how they react, and then analyze these reactions and to make, okay, this is the reaction now, we understand this model, these are the kind of disclaimers we, in the methods descriptions, this section we would describe these things, and then, you know, and you know, method, possible biases or whatever are there, you know, these are just, we take into account when assessing the research results. But it's just, you know, transparency of how you did and why and what the decisions were like, and yeah.
Okay.
It is a very good and justified question. So now obviously there are other dimensions there as well. It's not only like, okay, there may be some inherent biases, or there's a risk that we give some data away, etc., etc. Of course, obviously there is these machines, they run on a lot of energy. We don't know where, etc. So I guess currently the situation is that I think it completely would make sense that on these grounds, especially when you cannot analyze them, you don't have the data in terms of energy expenditure and the effect on the environment. So because we need to admit that we don't know that, and in this context we might decide not to go for it because it may be problematic. But at the same time, the path is clear that, especially in this context, you know, public universities need to make sure that they either run their own systems or they collaborate, like as in Estonian case, we have ETAS infrastructure, and then in that context, we again need to make sure that what is the energy the ETAS, for instance, in Estonia is using. Actually, I don't know. So maybe this is something we need to figure out. But increasingly more of transparency and public accountability when it comes to these things, especially probably also, I'm pretty sure it will come very soon. I think in some countries this has been already implemented, that if you want to use public money for research, you cannot use anymore these US-based black boxes anymore. So I think we are currently very dynamic situation when it comes to what is considered ethical and accountable research. So, and I think it's the way to go, yeah.
DIGHT-Hub first.
Yeah, I just want to give you 3 keywords: supply, demand, alternatives. So it's all about supply and demand, first of all, and the third one is about alternatives. A lot of universities want to move away from Microsoft or from Google, etc. But what is the alternative? We don't have viable alternatives. The science is capable of giving us alternatives, but then the finances and the whole structure, the corporate structure of the university as well, that makes it also very difficult. So actually we need to also to acknowledge that we have a problem. We as universities have a kind of intellectual problem in the way that we do our business today. We can't deny this. Like, there's a change of the economy of knowledge. So without the money available, yeah, what shall I do? I would like to have my own system as university, but that's easy said than done. So I think it's maybe now about focusing our knowledge to create sustainable alternatives that we can, for example, then we can say, okay, Elon Musk, goodbye, we don't need you. Bill Gates, we don't need you. But at the moment, it's almost impossible to have these kind of idealistic dreams, let's say, without having the alternatives. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, Ville, then Hannu, and then we will conclude.
Actually, you mentioned already alternatives, but in a different way. I wanted my small 2 cents, again, borrowing from AI law training, but as it matched my personal ethics, expressing it here, the first question is actually not what to use and which model to use and how we explain it, but the first question in research, but overall in applying AI is actually asking, is it necessary? And I think that in my cultural heritage field, like the project we do, I as a researcher, I also, before computational methods, which I'm not good at, I also moved from humanities to social studies, so moving across three approaches, qualitative, quantitative, and computational. But in real life, it's the same. Like if museums want to display something fancy and do a little bit research, and AI gives this entertainment moment only, then it's not ethical, I think. So it actually starts from asking very clearly, do we need it at all? And only then we get to this project where it's clearly needed and do discussed. So to keep it short.
Well, I don't know if this is a good ending for the panel, but I just wanted to comment on the energy consumption. As far as I know, for example, in Finland we have a nationally based computer center, and the amount of computer time that we use is minimal compared to other fields of research. Yeah. But we have we are probably the first ones to articulate the problem. But the fact is that so much is consumed in other fields of research and in the consumer culture around AI. I mean, there's a lot of digital waste that is produced at the moment. So the serious research that we do it's a minimal in this ocean.
Okay, thank you, Hannu. And luckily, it's actually not the ending. It's in a way only the beginning, because we all invite you all now to join us to continue these conversations to a festive reception in the Astra ground floor atrium, where we will have time to discuss these things till 9 p.m. And in order to keep the conversations going, as Daniela already mentioned, Juri Lotman Semiotics Repository, together with some colleagues from Twinning Project, has prepared a small exhibition. And I just want to take the chance to emphasize that what you will see there is not our vision of a digital archive or how it should be built. It's more exactly of this trends and aspects in digital cultural heritage that, in our opinion, deserve more reflection. So, although based on the materials of Lotman's archive, we exactly propose it as discussion points throughout the evening. So I invite you to explore and enjoy the evening and reception. So thank you once again to all our participants of the roundtable, and thank you also for joining this launch today. Thanks.